That's what they told me.
Okay, so the learning is in honor for all the people that are still in captivity, all the people that need for Shlema, a speedy recovery, especially my friend Shmuel Ben Sada should have a speedy recovery, and may God shine on all of us and give us all what we need. We're holding Daf Chavav Amud Beis.
Just a plug for the videos. I watched Motzei Shabbos last week's share. I liked it.
Oh, thank you.
Cooked up a video. And
I thought it was me and Steph, me and the Steph.
yeah.
Then I have to say that it's Chuzim and Rossi, what's it called?
Can we ask questions when you have this video? I know it's being all recorded, but
Yeah.
like I
You
feel
just
like
did?
I feel
You
like,
just did?
well,
That was the
at
first
least
question.
somebody watched it.
I watch it. So
Oh, you watch it?
but I
Okay.
don't show it.
Like I feel like I shouldn't interrupt in any way.
No.
But
There's no money to edit right now, so keep the questions, business appropriate.
Zag the Gemara, Daf Chavav on the base. We are holding at. We're holding 4 lines from the top. 4 lines from the top. I'm going to redo this piece of Gemara because it's a machlokes that is actually interesting. So 4 lines from the top, Daf Chavav on the base. 4 lines from the top. Tona Rabbanon. So we had until now, we said that there are few instances and few situations that happened where you have to do kriya, you have to rent your garments, and after you do that, you cannot mend it professionally, and like what Chizda says, Ichui Alexander, which is a super professional mending that you don't even see the stitching, you don't even see where it was ripped. So, the Gemara says though, back in those days they used to wear tunics, which was basically a garment cut up in a small, narrow cutout to put over the head, like a long t-shirt, and sleeves, like a very long t-shirt and sleeves. Down the bottom was open, top was a small, narrow opening. And basically what you do is, when you do such clear, we already learned that for a parent you have to do clear from the seam, basically rip the seam. And now we can't fix it. So the Gemara wants to come with an idea, maybe have a good idea. What if we turn over the tunic? So the top, bottom right now. And I cut open the narrow opening, and I have 2 wide opening, and basically the former leg part I sew together, make it smaller. So now I have a new tunic, and I make myself opening for the arms, and I have a good thing. So are you allowed to do that? Because then it's technically kind of looking like you're fixing up a garment, and then when it sits on bottom, can you fix it up a little bit? So Tana Rabbanan. You're allowed to turn over the tunic tops to bottom, and to mend it. That is the opinion of the Tanna Kama. Shimon also says no, you're not allowed to mend it professionally. And now comes the Gemara that says like this: now that you're not allowed to mend these items, these garments, just like the seller, which means the guy that's sitting shiva for his father, for a nasi, for whatever we mentioned in the page before, he is not allowed to mend it. So also when he sells it, the buyer cannot mend it, and therefore the seller has to notify the buyer. You should know the rip in the garment is not because I got stuck in the rail. The rip in the garment is because I had to do kriya. I had to rent my garments for someone that passed away or something bad that happened, and I can fix it, and you should know too that you can't fix it either. The price that I'm charging you is not cheaper because I'm too lazy to fix it, because that's the price, and you don't go mending. So that's why they're saying there's 2 reasons why you have to let them know. Number one, that it shouldn't be it shouldn't be cheating out of money, because the buyer is going to see, oh, it's a good deal on this, the garment that's ripped. I'll fix it. It's not a big deal. I'll fix it. That's not, it's a cheating out of money. The other thing is that the kriya, they say, is minatoila. And this is something that that has to stay for covered for the parents. The rent, the rip in the garment has to stay, and therefore the seller has to let the buyer know. Now, Taisus, we already said, if Taisus brought a question whether the buyer is a yid or a goy, is it make a difference if the buyer is a goy? Do I have to let him know, or do I not have to know? And it leaves it with the tzaddik. And now Taisus finishes off with one thing: Moed Katan on the side. The second Taisus on the top, Moed Katan, with the machlokes of Tanna Kama and Shimon Lazar. The machlokes whether you're allowed to flip over the tunic and do the tops to bottom and fix it or not fix it. Rabbi Shimon says no, and the Tanna Kama says yes. Taisus says halacha Tanna Kama. Tanna Kama is usually multiple rabbanim. You don't know who it is, and so therefore the halacha is like the Tanna Kama. However, the Baal HaMoed, the Rif, and the Rashba, and the Rambam, they bring it a Shalmi, and they also bring it a Shalmi, and they write that it doesn't make sense. Why would the halacha be like the Tanakama? The halacha should be. They say that halacha is like a Shimon ben Elazar, and they ask a question: how can it be? How can those people paskin? How can the Baal HaMoed and the Rif paskin that it's like a Shimon ben Elazar? If you say Yochid, so they say they have a Kabbalah beyond, they have something that they received from generations. That the halacha in this case is like this. Again, the Tosafos says the halacha is like the Tanakama, and multiple of the Shonim say that halacha is like a Shimon ben Elazar, that you cannot fix it, and with that it stays. The question is, what if the seller does not announce it to the buyer that this thing is ripped? What does the buyer do now? If the seller sells an item and doesn't tell him that it's ripped because of a clear, what do
they do? You could fix it, or he might fix
so
it.
There's different opinions. So the Tva brings down that if he doesn't know, then he can fix it, and he fix it. He can fix it easily. There are other places in Maseches Avul. Maseches Avul is in the back of, at the end of Nezikin, after Makas or the Hoydes, or over there at the end. There's a whole Masech that calls Maseches Smachas, or sometimes called Maseches Avos. It basically had all the halachas, hilchas avelis in there in detail. And over there it's brought down that the lekeach cannot do anything with it, fixing it or not, until the seller, until he finds out. It's on him. It's on his part that he has to go find out whether it was fixed or not. And the cheshm is very simple.
Whether it was fixed or not, or whether it was torn.
It was torn or not. The cheshm is very simple. The lekeach, if he didn't fix it, I don't know what happened. You could think the reason the buyer starts to think the reason the seller didn't fix it is because it was such a rip, that you're not allowed to fix. Maybe that's why it wasn't fixed, and therefore the lekeach the buyer cannot do anything until he finds out. Because it is very possible the reason it was ripped is because it was such a clear that you can't fix it. So the basic Maseches Avul paskin different than the Tva, and it says that if the seller did not notify the buyer what kind of rip this is, the buyer cannot do anything until he himself goes and finds out. Because otherwise it would be very obvious. The reason why he didn't fix it is would say it's because he couldn't fix it. Why would someone? The Rambam adds this: why would someone sell a ripped garment if you can easily fix it and then sell it for more money? So the reason he left the rip, and we have to say, is because he's not. Therefore, the lekeach, if the seller didn't tell the buyer anything, the buyer has to go and inquire whether they're allowed to do it or not. Again, this is the halacha. Today it's very different anymore. Anyways, because today, Baruch Hashem, we don't have that problem. I hope no one has that issue that he can't buy new clothing. Tana Abanu. Zat mal weiter. Tchilas kriya tefach. When you rip the garment, when the main rip is a tefach. V'tesefes. If you have someone passes away during right after the shiva or during that time, we'll see exactly what the timing is. Then the halacha is that you can add a little bit to the same rip. How much could you add? So Rabbi says shalosh etzba'os. You add 3 etzba'os, and 3 etzba'os, 3 finger breaths is enough to be yaitze for kriya. Kriya has to be a tefach, but if someone else dies, you don't have to do another tefach or start a new kriya. Just add to that kriya, but it has to be 3. So it's 3 etzba'os. Rabbi Yehuda Aiman tchilas kriya shalosh etzba'os. No, the beginning of the kriya is only 3 etzba'os. V'tosefes kolshu, and the addition is a tiny bit, just a tiny bit more. If you remember a few pages ago, we had that we learned from David HaMelech, I believe it was from David HaMelech, that we learned that the kriya is Vayechois. It says that he held on to his garment and he ripped it. So it has to be something that he can hold on. Holding on is a tefach, which is at least 4 etzba'os. So the question they ask about on the Yehuda, how can he say that it's not? So first of all, he doesn't have to agree with that pasuk, but also they explain the Meforshim, the Achlenim explain that it could be. It's just like a shofar. It says by a shofar. The shofar, the minimum measurement of shofar is a tefach. But it says if someone has large fingers, so it's less. If someone has smaller fingers, you can have 4 etzba'os, 3 etzba'os, 6 etzba'os. So basically, accordingly, he says that that Yehuda holds that a strong, mighty grip holding on, that is 4 etzba'os. That's 4 finger breadths. But you could hold on something not so strong, only three finger breadths wide. In any case, that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. It only 3. In any case, the halacha is, Ula says, Amud halacha b'meh b'kriya. The halacha is going to be like meh by the actual kriya, the initial one, which has to be a tefach, 4 tzba'is. V'halacha Rabbi Yehuda b'toisef. The halacha is going to be according to Rabbi Yehuda about the addition. So if someone has sitting shiva for a relative, and he hears right after shiva or right during shiva, depending on the opinion, that someone else died, and he has to do another kriya, he doesn't have to go rip another 3 etzba'is. He just adds a little bit. So we have to do 4 etzba'is, a tefach, and then another kalshu. That's what Ula says. So the Gemara we learn also in the Braisa. The Braisa says Tchilas kriya tefach, but the Sefers kalshu. He also says Rabbi Yossi is a Tana, and he also said with this. He made a compromise, a little bit like Ameh, a little bit like Rabbi Yehuda, and like Tessa says already. Technically, you don't have to say the Ula comes and says Allah is. The Gemara should say we can see from Rabbi Yossi that Meir is a Tan, Rabbi Yehuda is a Tan, Rabbi Yossi is another Tan, and he passes like what's it called, like these two. But basically, the Tessa says that it's an additional thing. There's two reasons. Rabbi Yossi always Allah is to be like him. Whenever he has a machlokes, Allah is like him. If he argues with Meir Rabbi Yehuda, and Ula is basically showing that not only is Allah like the Yossi, and basically we're splitting, we're compromising with the shit of the man and Yehuda, but it's basically, it's 2 things. The halacha is like a Yossi, and it's a beautiful compromise, and that's why we go according to him. In any case, Tana Rabbanim, Amulay Meis Aviv, Vekora. If someone hears that his father passed away, and he did Kriya, Meis Benoi, and then he hears that his son passed away, V'hoisif, and he added on bottom, because we said that we can always add, which we said before, that may be to have an argument how much you have to add. This is what it's talking about. Father passed away, he does clear. The son passes away, and adds clear. So now the father that passed away, we know that he cannot fix the clear, right? We can fix it. A son that passed away, you're allowed to mend the actual place that the garment was ripped. So now here is interesting. The beginning part was ripped for his father, and the addition was for his son. Zog the Gemara, Tachton misache, elin misache. The last part, the bottom part, the addition you could fix. The top part you can't fix. Simple, because the top part is the father and the bottom part is the son. The chiddush is actually that even though that the son is relying on the father's kriya, that few said that the tefach that was ripped for the father, the son is relying on it. Technically, that part is bottle to the other part. It's nullified. It's just a tiny addition. You would say that maybe, just like the top one, you can fix the bottom one, you're also not able to fix it. The chiddush is here that it's 2 different things, even though it's only an addition to something that you're not allowed to fix, but that addition you're allowed to fix. What if it's the opposite? Meis Benoi, first his son dies and he does clear tefach. Vekora. Meis of, then his father passed away. Vehoisiv, and he adds to the addition. Elyon Misache, Tachten Misache. Now the top one can be fixed because that was for the son. And the bottom one cannot be fixed. And here the chiddush is that why would you, technically the father, the tiny addition that you ripped for your father is an addition to the son's kriya. So it needs that tefach of the son's kriya to become a full kriya. So technically the whole thing should not be able to, you shouldn't be able to fix the whole thing. The chiddush is here, no, we don't look at that. This was ripped for the son, this is added on the father, so the top can be fixed and the bottom cannot be fixed.
One second, just want to understand. So a guy has a tear.
Don't join yourself, yeah.
A guy has a tear. This part he fixes. This part is regular. Or that's open.
That's a few stitches over there.
It's a nudnik.
Huh?
Mamash a nudnik.
Back in those days, they didn't have just clothing on, so they needed it. So I'll fix it as much as I can. But that's not everyone's shitta. So here, basically, according to this opinion, you can add, if a father passes away and a son passes away, you can add on each other's kriya. The Gemara says here like this, continues the Gemara, Mes Aviv, Mes Imay, Mes Achiv, Mes Achois. Really not good news. His father passed away, his mother passed away, his brother, his sister passed away, everyone at the same time. Kadeya Keda Echad Lekulan. It does one kriya for everyone in the Zyoyta. That is a Tanakama's shita. Rabbi Yehuda says, Al Kulan Keda Echad, all the other relatives, spouse, children or siblings, you do one kriya. Al Imay Keda Echad. For your father and mother, it's a different. You cannot rip in the same area. Now the Meforshim explained this is a machlokes, but basically what it means here is that the Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the entire thing we just said that you can add and you can fix. No, a father passes away, you do a total new kriya. A son passes away, it's different than the father's kriya. So if the father passes away and then the son passes away, you don't add. If 2 brothers pass away, unfortunately, then you can add. If two sisters or two children pass away, you can always add. But for parents, it's a whole different thing. Parents has its own gathering. Why does the Rebbe say that? The fee because he cannot add on the ripped piece of Vime.
So you rip for the parents first.
So if you have the whole thing, so it doesn't really make a difference about who you rip first.
No, because it says she'ein moisifin al kera of v'ima. You don't add on to the kera of the father.
Actual one, but you make another one. So you do one for the father and one for the son. If it's separate or not, or just which one comes first, that's a different machlekes. But if everyone passes away unfortunately at the same time, you do for all the relatives one clear, and for the parents.
Here in America was the
Twin Towers and the Holocaust.
The Ainsworths that were nifter in the building collapse.
But it's two parents, so you
two
can do
parents.
clear one time. Technically,
right.
It wasn't civil. Never be
You should never know that.
But there was another person there. Oh no, the guy from Vienna that passed away, but his father-in-law was not there. So his wife, he and his wife passed away. His father-in-law left for that night or something like that, I think. No.
Where, in the building?
In the building, yeah. The father and daughter were killed together. I believe the father and daughter were killed together, yes. In that case, yes. So whoever is the survivors will do clear separately. Okay, Zog the Gemara weiter. So the Zabib said it disagrees. Now the Gemara asks a question, my time, what's the reason of Yehuda? And Taisus right away asks, we just said, Lefishay Masif al because we don't add. So this says like we erased the line before we erased. So my time, Abba Nachman Yitzchak, Lefishay B'Tesefes, because a father and mother is not B'Tesefes. What does it mean it's not B'Tesefes? So the Meforshim explained very nice. The Ritva explains that when you do, we already said that in the Gemara, a couple pages ago, the reason you do clear is it's an emotional thing that when you fix it, it's a process. You do the clear, it actually helps. It does say that the clear is for the honor of the deceased, but also when you rip, you let out a certain energy, and this process of healing can start. So we know that for a parent, the emotions are much stronger when a parent passes away, and therefore the rip can be much a stronger rip. For a sibling or a child or a spouse, apparently it's not as much, and therefore the rip is not as much. So now the Gemara says like this:
it's supposed to be cathartic.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm saying that's the intention of the Gemara to say
that's the Gemara says. You can start psychologically explaining it in different ways. I don't know. It obviously, when you learn this and if your child passes away, it's like, we're talking about.
I think in another place in the Gemara it says that the hardest thing is to bury a child.
Correct. But the clear wise, for a parent is a whole different thing. Maybe because they brought you to this world, so therefore you give them a certain honor. But that's what it says. So basically, when you rip clear for a sibling or for a child, not you, when someone rips clear for a sibling or a child or a spouse, you do a clear at a certain point. You're done. This is not the emotions stop and you're done. So anything, and the amount we know is a tefach. According to the biggest amount, it's a tefach. So anything else, if someone sees someone do clear and you see the amount is larger than tefach, I look at him and says, oh, he must have ripped clear for two people because I know his brother passed away, and I see that it's longer. Okay, so I know the addition is someone else's. What's it called? But for a parent, that you could rip more because your chimum, your emotions are much stronger. Apparently, so when you see someone sitting shiva and he has a big rip in his shirt, and he's sitting shiva for his parents, you're not gonna know that there was the tefach was for the parent and the addition was for someone else. You're gonna think, oh, he probably was so upset that ripped the entire thing. So Zakta Ritva, Lefisha Einim at the Sefes, because the concept of addition doesn't exist by a parent. By a parent, when you see an addition, you're not going to think it's an addition. That's what the Ritva explains. Otherwise, the Pashup shot is because you don't add. You don't add by a parent. Parent is separate. Shmuel says that you have to rip two separate rips, one for siblings, spouse, or children, and one for parent. Even though the Shmuel is the one that always says that when it comes to Avelus, you are makel, you go to the lenient opinion. And that's what the Gemara is going to ask. Did Shmuel say so? Every time, whenever you can be makel, that's how you go. And for the Gemara, Avelus is really for the person sitting shiva. That's for the people that are left down here. So here we say don't overdo it. But kriya is an honor also. It's an honor also giving covet for the person that passed away, showing that I'm upset that the person passed away. So the Kriya, we'd say that we go according to the stricter opinion, but when it comes to Avelos, we go according to the most lenient opinion because of the person that's down here. So I think about the Hechon Kriya. Till how far do you rip? Until his navel. Until his heart. There's no clear pasuk on where you should rip. Rent your hearts, but not your garments. So basically, in here, it would technically be don't rip your garments. But basically, they learn from here that rent in such a way until your heart is revealed, but don't rip the entire garment.
These days, that you do it, either you do it by Shemer Adas, or if it's a graveside, you do it at the graveside. Somebody from Chavar Kadisha comes with a razor,
and
starts
cutting,
it, and then you rip it.
Yeah, then you have to hold on, and you have to make the block and rip it. Yeah.
So it's interesting because here it's mashma that you take your cloak the way it is and you just rise.
Yeah, the lachas change over. Not all lachas change, but it was
the minute it's the minute where the halacha is to do with the razor dafka, or it's just pushing it easier to rip.
No, there's something that he
dafka. Yeah.
The guy that did it when my mother tore Kriya, it was about a year ago. It was like a whole. It was a whole thing that he needed to start it. Yeah. He needed to start it, and he needed to.
It was usually
it was a she for the ladies, but
they needed to start it.
Yeah.
I remember.
But you can see that if someone sits shiva for a sibling or a spouse, the clear is different than if someone's sitting shiva for a parent. With parents, you rip everything until you reveal the heart. For siblings, it's not lav dafka so. Anyways, and a woman, we said already, it's going to be important later. The woman said already that she rips clear and then she puts it back and covers it up. So the Gemara weiter. What if he ripped clear and he ripped clear, and let's say it was ripping clear for a brother, and then another brother passed away and he ripped more, and then a sister passed away and he ripped more, and a child passed away until he hit the navel area. Now it's the body is pretty much divided in two. By the navel, it's technically, you could say this is the half of the body. So you go until the navel area, and now the rest of the garment is considered the lower part of the garment. So now, what do you do if you have another avelos and you don't want to rip a new garment? What do you do is when you hit the navel area, you move away 3 finger breaths, and you start a new rip for, let's say, you have a bunch of avelos, a bunch of shiva to sit, a bunch of kriyas to do. What happens if the whole front is shredded? You're ripping, everything is shredded. And you still want to use that same garment for a shiva, for kliya. If you turn around, front to the back to the front, and now you have a whole clean garment, and you continue ripping. And if the front and back are both full of rips, the whole upper part of the garment is ripped. You turn over the garment, milamata, and you start basically the bottom is top to bottom, and you can start doing anything.
Very morbid.
Yeah, but why can't you just, why do you have to flip it over? Just rip from the bottom. If you rip clear from the bottom or from the sides, it's not yet. So you have to go from the top down. That's the halacha. The Gemara adds, there's one person that does do clear from bottom to top, and not because of clear, just because of, again, letting out some emotions. Kohen Gadol in his own clothing, obviously not the big kahuna, and not the big Kohen Gadol, definitely not, but his own garments. If he is an oval, he says, the Kohen Gadol says very clearly that he should not rip his garments. So he doesn't do an official garment, but he goes from the bottom and rips top. It goes up to show everyone that he is upset, but it's not for clear. This is just to show his emotions. In the both said the machlokes, the name was Shmuel and Levi. Someone said like this: if someone said Shiva, and what happens is that during Shiva, he finds out someone else passed away in his family. Kodeya, he starts a whole new rip. After Shiva, then you can start to the initial rip. You can add. What's the reasoning? The Gemara is going to say in a moment what the reasoning is, but to give it a hint, the reasoning is that during Shiva you cannot fix the garment yet. You cannot do shoyla, you cannot mend it back together. After Shiva, certain parts you can start doing already, and therefore during Shiva, because your garment is already ripped and you can never be fixed yet, so you cannot make a clear and say, oh, I ripped clear for someone else. So during Shiva, if someone says Shiva and someone else passes away, you have to do another new rip of a tefach. And the other opinion says, the entire first 30 days, you do clear, you cannot add to your initial clear, you have to do a new clear. Only after Shloishim, there you can start adding to the initial clear. Maskil of Zera asked, what's the reasoning of these halachas? The one that says that during the shiva you have to do a new clear, a new rib. Why do you say that? Because during the shiva you can still not mend the garment. Therefore, because you cannot mend it yet, you cannot add to the clear. The only time you can add to the clear if you're at a time where you're allowed to mend it already, and instead of mending it, you go and continue, but you could mend it. So now you choose not to mend it. You can say, okay, I'm not mending it because I need to do more clear. But at a time when you cannot mend it at all, you cannot fix it, you cannot consider that as a part of the new clear. You have to do a whole new clear. If that's so, if that's the reasoning, because you can fix it. Now I'm going to ask you a question. A woman, it says in the Mishnah a couple of pages ago, that a woman, after she does clear, she can do shailal, she can do roll it together and let it hold up with a pin or with a needle. So we said that the woman could fix it right away. A few moments after she does clear, she could fix it. So hachanami, maybe now you would say that because a woman could fix it right away, she should be allowed to do clear in the same location for another person, because she could fix it already. A male a man that rips a male, you cannot add because he cannot during shiva you can fix it. But a woman that he could temporarily fix it, let her do clear in the same spot a little bit more. And for the Gemara, no, that's not the reason why a woman fixes it. It's for her own covet, for her own honor. But not according to halacha, technically she shouldn't be allowed to fix it. So therefore, we don't consider it as being fixed. And the whole reason why we let it fold it up and stick it back together is because of the honor, the covet of the one. So he asks weiter, the one that says that the entire 30 days you cannot add to the kliya. You have to start a new kliya if someone passes away during the shloishim. What's the reasoning why? Because the nitn lachoisa. Because for a sibling, not for a parent. For a parent you can't fix it forever. But for a sibling or for a child or for a spouse, for 30 days you cannot mend those garments. So it's because you can't mend those garments for 30 days. The first part was shoyl. Shoyl is not mending; it's like a temporary fixing. For the lachoisa is a complete fixing. So for 30 days you're not allowed to mend it, and therefore the entire 30 days you cannot do kliya. You cannot continue that kliya. You have to start a new one. Because you can fix it. But if the kliya is for father and mother, that you cannot fix it forever.
So you might as well be allowed to tear it again.
You no.
Hachanami, meaning
Hachanami, I see. I actually was stumped now. Hachanami. Therefore, after 30 days, you shouldn't be allowed to add. After 30 days, you shouldn't be allowed to, because you can never fix it.
For parents.
You should be. And here it says a cloud that after 30 days you could add. You can add to the clear. And for the Gemara, no. The reason you cannot mend it is because of the covet. Technically, you should be allowed to mend it, and therefore you can add to the initial clear. But the reason why we say don't fix it professionally is because covet of it. Tana Rabbanan. The Rabbanan, the Chams learned something like this. If someone walks out, they see a procession, or what's it called, of a velus, of a new levaya, and he goes out and he walks out and says, "Oh, I have actually a ripped garment in my closet. Let me put it on and show the world that I'm pushed so upset that this guy passed away." But he didn't rip it for this. He had a ripped garment. So he steals from the mesim that he doesn't show the proper covet. And he also steals from the living. That what? He lives in the living that he shows that he's bothered by the fact that the person passed away, but he's not really. It's not really true. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, if someone tells his friend, let me borrow your garment. I don't have a proper garment to travel with. I'm going to visit my father, which is in a different town. I don't know what goes on there. I know he's sick. I want to go visit him, but I don't have a proper garment to travel with. Let me borrow your tunic. So he tells him these words. I'm going to visit my father that's sick. Now, because he's telling him these words to the father, my father is sick, he's basically telling him, look, my father is sick, and it is possible that if I get there, I will find out that he passed away. And I'm letting you know that I'm going to do kriya on your garment. So, he rips the garment, but now because it's not his own garment, he can fix it. He gives back to his friend his garment, and he gives him whatever the clothing was now worth less because of the clear that it was fixed. He gives him back. But if he did not tell him that he's traveling to visit his ill father, you should not rip it, because at the moment it tells him that I'm going to visit my father that is sick, he's basically letting him know that it is a possibility that I will find my father not with the living, and I'm going to have to do clear. And if the friend agrees, so he's allowed to do clear. Tana Rabbanan. If there is a person that is ill, and while he's ill, he finds out that someone passed away, and he has to do sit shiva. We don't let him know that someone passed away. Because maybe he loses his mind. And again, you don't do any clear in front of him. And here's one time where you're allowed to tell the woman to be quiet. Tell them not to cry. Just as a side note, we know that the Rebbe for 12 years hid Avelus from his mother. Rebbe's brother passed away, and the Rebbe went out of his way, great lengths, to conceal. During the Shiva, he had someone, if I remember correct the story, he had someone paint his the soles black, and he changed his clothing. So he did many different things according to this halacha. 12 years he hid it from her.
It was more than that. She also mentioned to him, why didn't I get any letters from...
and then he what's it called?
He had letters redirected.
Yeah.
There is, the halacha is, a katan does not have any avelos. So if you ever see a house of avelos, and I know a question comes up many times, unfortunately, what's with the kids? So the Rav will always tell them that the kids can do whatever they want to. They want to go to school, they want to be with their friends, let them go. They want to take a shower, a haircut, cutting nails, everything. There's no avails by katan. But in order to arouse more pain by the other people, we do kriya on the katan that others should see and cry. Umekan the katan b'na agmas nefesh for agmas nefesh. The Gemara goes right and tells us another halacha that we don't do today. If someone's father-in-law or mother-in-law passed away, you do kriya mipnei kvod ishtoi because the honor of your wife, the covenant of his wife, but you don't do it in front of her. That Amma in Shulchan Aruch paskins that today we don't do that anymore. Until then, they write, yes, you do that. The Shulchan Aruch, the Tud, they all bring down the Rambam, but the Rama at the end, which is our Ashkenazi Pesach, he says we don't do it.
Both of the halachas or just the second halacha?
No, katan we do. Katan we do.
Katan does kriya?
We do
Right,
katan.
right at the beginning?
Yeah.
No.
But Chama Chamoisai, we don't. We already had the Gemara a couple of pages ago. It said that if you remember that deal, whoever you sit shiva for, you sit shiva with.
What do you mean?
A spouse, a husband, would sit shiva for his wife. So if his wife sits shiva for anyone, he would sit shiva with her. Whoever sits, who you sit shiva for, you would sit shiva with. Again, so if
someone's
We had
wife,
this
we had
earlier.
it earlier. A husband has a wife. His wife's father passed away. His wife has to sit shiva for her father.
Correct.
So the Gemara says, whoever you sit shiva for, you would sit shiva for the wife. If your wife passes away, you would sit shiva for your wife. Not you. I'm saying
God
if
forbid.
a person would sit shiva for her wife, then if she sits shiva, you have to sit shiva with her. Whoever you sit shiva for, you sit shiva with. So they say this is the source of this halacha about Chamav and Chamoisai. V'amar Av Papa. Papa said 6 lines in the bottom. Tana Baba Abasi. We again learned in Avil Abasi. A ovel should not hold a young, cute child in his hand, because that would cause him to be jolly and happy. But and people would see that, oh, you're sitting Shiva, you technically should be in pain and mourning, and you're laughing and you're jolly, and people will look at you in a not good way. So that's
very interesting. That's a halacha, or that's like more.
So we don't have the l'chaim by our house.
They only have l'chaim.
I'll tell you, my shviga passed
The
away.
lady Lvovsky was sitting Shiva as cases of wine. Cases.
Why another shiv house?
Wine?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't drink much.
No, his father's big into wine.
No, I was in another shiv house. Everyone was stone drunk.
We gotta wait to process the pain.
What effect does that have for the departed? There must have been something like that.
Isn't it by the?
What do you mean? They're happy. They're
the outside, the world
guys
outside.
out there, the pain. That's where the pain is at.
Huh?
Who cares about the guy that's
Didn't the guy say like want to make a
that?
Shiva app to find out of town all these places the Shiva is like good food
Happens
is
in the
like,
food. They bring
yeah,
food
so
in
like
the city.
Shiva app there's food left over here and there.
No, but this is interesting because when I went to Detroit to Menachem with my mother, in a certain sense, her face lit up when she saw us walk in.
Correct.
We weren't sitting in her lap. But
2 minutes after my shviga passed away, I was with my wife and my kid, my baby at the time, and my shver grabbed my baby and Pashut was like this was like his line down here.
Okay.
Very okay. Zatim mal weiter. We had in the Mishnah that if someone passes away on Chol HaMoed, we said that when you do the Sudas Havdah, when you do the first Suda, the person eats after the come back. You cannot eat from your own. You have to rely on others to eat. You have to eat from someone else. But this Suda, usually you would sit already on a low stool. But if it's Chol HaMoed, you don't do that Suda on a low stool. You sit on a regular chair. The Gemara is not going to really focus on that part where the stool, but the Gemara talks about the general concept of flipping over the bed. So the Gemara says, you do not do the Sudas Havdah on a turned over bed. If someone goes to the Beis Avil, if the consoler, the guy that comes to visit, the Avelim, is very friendly. Liebe Gaspa means he's very friendly. He will talk anything with him. Yavleo al mita kfuya, he could eat with him al mitas kfuyos. This is not Chol HaMoed, this is general. If you come visit, someone comes visit an oval and he's very friendly with him, then it's not it's not derogatory. It's not looked down upon if you sit down low with him. Vim lav, but if he's not that friendly, of the al mitas kfuyos, he should sit on regular bed upright, and the oval sits low. Story: Rava Yisrael Milsa, Rava showed up. Not sure, but something happened bad to Love. Someone passed away. Olegabea Abba Bal Malta, Abba the son of Malta. Malta is a woman's name. The who Abba Bunyami. He is also Abba Bunyami. They explained already that I think we had it written in the Gemara. Actually, I don't remember, but I think we had it already. That his mother saved him. That's why it was called after his mother's name. But they also made sure that you know who it is. It's the Abba. That father's name is Bunyami. His mother gave him a tube made out of, I believe, if I remember correct, copper. This was for someone that a wild dog or a dog with rabies bit. There was a whole way to save him, the blood. It's a whole different thing. You grind something and you have to say some words on it, and at the end you have to eat from a certain tube. And his mother basically did it, and she saved him. And therefore, he's named after his mother as well as after his father. Okay, so Abba Mata showed up at Rava. So what did Rava do? He sees this coming. Rava took the chair or the bed and flipped it upright. So he should sit like a regular person. Abba Mata went inside and turned it over, basically showing him, I'm friendly with you. I'm very friendly with you. Look, how little understanding that this young student have. I went and I flipped it over. I wanted to show you that me and you are not on the same level. We're not. And you come, we go back,
Pashat Chazerim zusammen.
Someone travels from place to place, and something happened that he finds out that he has to sit Shiva. He might, if he can reduce his asik, reduce his business, he should. And if he can't, then he should work with his partners and let them take care of most of the things. This is the Pashup shot that we're talking about. A merchant is traveling, and someone passes away. We're talking about that a parent passes away, like Tosfos explains, because if a sibling passes away, you're at the halacha. The Gemara said already that you could do certain type of work, but if a parent passes away, you shouldn't. And here the Gemara says a chiddush, because he's already traveling, he left when everything was fine, and he's already traveling. We allow him to finish the travel, and if he has no choice and he has to do business, let him do it. And the machlokes is, how much work can he do? That's one shot. The other shot is, we're not talking about a merchant, we're talking about a regular person, a person who's traveling, and something happens in between. Something happens during the travel. Parent passes away. Are you allowed to go now and stock up on food? So the Gemara tells you, don't stock up on food more than you need. Only stock up as much as you need. That's the two shit. That's how you learn it. Okay, so I think this is the way Tosfos learns it, and a few other people learn this way. When is the moment when you start not only flipping over the bed? When is the moment when you start all the hilchas of avelos? When do you turn over the bed? The Meforshim said it's also, like I said, everything else. We're not only talking about the flipping over the bed, but any hilchas of avelos. When does that start? When as soon as the body leaves the house, the Abelezer says that's when he starts flipping over the beds. Shua says no, when the goylel is closed. What's a goylel?
A shitting.
A goylel is a machlokes. Rashi in some places says a goylel is when you cover the aron, or if there's no aron, then if you cover the earth, that's the stimus of goylel. Other people say that it has to be some type of tombstone on top, not a full tombstone, but some type of tombstone. But stimus of goylel today we know is when the earth gets. That's what we call stimus of goylel in today's day and age. So the Gemara Shemeza b'Gamliel Zaken story of when Gamliel Zaken passed away. As soon as his body was taken out from the door, Abelezer said according to his shitta, turn over your beds. And they went to the Besakvaras and they buried him. The Yeshua says, oh, now I have to go and turn over the beds. He told him, hey, we already did according to the Abelazer's shitta. A side note here is that this cannot be the Gamliel Hazakin, famous Gamliel Katan, because according to chronological order, Abelezer and Yeshua were very young at that time, so it has to be a different Abelezer. It's called Abelezer B'Yavne. In any case, sorry, Gamliel B'Yavne. Tana Rabbanan. We said on Shabbos you're allowed to turn everything over and you do as much. You don't do avelos as much and publicly. So at what time can you say, oh, now I can turn on the bed? Is it with lichtzen when you're running around to light the candles and turn on the chalent and everything? That's I got to do that, or there was a Torah nice enough to give you more time. So Torah says we'll give you time from mincha and on. Basically, Shabbos min mincha l'mayla from mincha and on. Even though you turn over the bed, but you don't sit on it until it gets dark. If you only have to sit one night, if you get up from Shiva Sunday morning and you have one night left to sit Shiva, you still have to turn over the bed. Now Tosfos says, says Tosfos, Pirish b'Tosfos, the misapkaloi mincha g'doyle mincha ktana. We don't know if it's mincha g'doyle mincha ktana.
Mincha g'doyle is much earlier, right?
Mincha g'doyle is
12:30.
Yeah, half an hour after chatzos. Mincha ktana is 2 and up before shkia. So where do you flip it over? We don't know. So, anyways, so here, just to finish off with a small machlokes here.
I think Tosfos says it's down by mincha ktana.
It's a machlokes.
Right.
Tosfos says we don't know. Tosfos says, Pirish Tosfos, the mesapkelei imin chagdoyle min chaktana. Don't know. Huh?
I think it makes sense to say more because it's close.
I'm saying what Tosfos says. I don't know what we do at the end. What do we do at the end? I think after chatzos. But in any
Aren't you
case,
supposed to be makel on everything?
you're right. But again, it says here you shouldn't use it, you shouldn't sit. Shouldn't sit. A small here. We know that we don't sit full 7 days shiva. The 7th day in the morning you sit a little bit, then you yeah, we already had the Gemara. Yeah, mix some kikule. What happens if so the Ramban actually paskins that mixes sim kikule starts in the night. That the 7th, the night, a little bit, and you're done. That's what the Ramban paskins. And the 12 writer asks, and it doesn't make sense. According to this Gemara, it doesn't make sense. The Gemara says that even if he has one night left, and next morning he gets up, you have to flip over the bed. From the Anaya, that the mixes sim kikule only starts by day and not by night.